There is something that if you don't get this one thing with hitting a driver, it doesn't matter how good your golf swing is, how fast your golf swing is, it doesn't matter about anything other than this one ingredient. And if you miss this one ingredient, you are not going to be hitting fairways, because that's what happened right on this shot. Even though this shot should have been a perfect stock draw, instead it went 113 feet left of the center line, giving me no chance at an approach at the green. What is that ingredient? Let's dive into it right now. All right, so I want you to take notice at these 5 dots. These 5 dots have a dramatic impact on where your golf ball goes when hitting drivers, and maybe a bigger impact than anything you could ever do in your swing. Now, I am joined by Matt Klinger, who is our master club fitter right here at the Golf Room in Columbus, Ohio, and we're going to talk about how hitting in the center of the face has maybe the biggest impact to what it is, and also why we fit players with all of these different shafts to ensure that you guys are hitting in the center of the face. So, in this experiment that we're going to say that it's basically a robot hitting, right? So like club path is 0, face is 0. If you hit the center of the face, the ball would just be like a dead straight, flush rocket, right? Yeah. So if you're hitting the ball in the heel a half of an inch, what does that do to the golf ball?
So a half of an inch off center, if it's on the heel, it's going to fade or slice, depending on how the face returns, right? But it's going to lose anywhere from 15 to 20 yards of distance, but it's also going to be offline around 10 to 20 yards.
Oh, man.
So depending on how open the face is, or for this guy, he's a square face, he's still losing 15 yards right, and he's going to lose about 15 yards of distance.
And if the average tour fairway is 40 yards, you've just said now even a pro golfer is going to hit it 15 to 20 yards short, so that's 2 clubs more than the green, and miss the fairway.
100%.
Good luck.
Yeah, seriously.
Right? So really, really big and important part. Now, so if we hit it in the center, if we hit in the heel, it's going to be cutting. So we could be making great golf swings, swinging it like a robot. It hits the heel, we hit a slice, and we're like, I need a less swing. No, you just need to hit the center of the face.
Correct.
Okay, now what about the toe?
So the toe will do the exact opposite. It'll hook or draw. Overdraw, right? So what we're looking at there is the same. The only difference is because it's a draw, it's actually going to have less spin, so it's going to run out more.
Okay.
Which means that 15 yards usually becomes 20 to 25 yards off target because of the curvature of the golf ball.
Okay, but it's the same kind of principle that it's basically for the 1 centimeter off center, it's going to lose about 5 miles an hour of ball speed.
Correct.
And every mile an hour of ball speed, try to stick with me here with the math, every mile an hour of ball speed is 3 yards. So 3 times 5, 15 yards.
Yep.
Okay. So, but it will have less speed. So maybe if we need to hook one around the corner, line it up off the toe.
Yeah, hit it on the toe. It'll be fine.
Just make sure you don't miss.
Correct.
Okay, now, what about if you have to hit it, if you're hitting it low on the face? So like if you're kind of hitting it down here at the bottom grooves.
Sure. So the lower side of the golf club is going to spin it really high. So you are going to hit it out low, and it's going to come like launching up. It's going to be like that old balata where it's like zoo, just straight up in the air, and you get no distance at all.
Right.
So it'll literally have so much spin that you'll wonder if that's the right driver and shaft for you.
Right. And it could be you just didn't hit the center of the face.
Correct. You just missed the face.
Right. So it's amazing how much like this has an impact on your ball flight. Now, what about high on the face? Because I've heard that's like, especially with the older drivers, that's like
high
toe.
The
high
toe. Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it does have a little bit of it has more beneficial outcome than the low side of the face, because it does launch it high. It launches it with low spin, but that still isn't consistent. So you're not going to gain the distance that you're looking for.
Yeah.
So we want to be hitting the center of the face, not high, not low, not heel, or not toe.
Now that we have an understanding that you guys could be making amazing golf swings, like swinging it like a robot, perfectly on plane, but if you hit the heel, the toe, the low, the high, you basically could be missing fairways, hitting it short, and be like, man, I need a lesson because there's something wrong with my swing. It's like, no, actually, it's just the center of the face. So the question now begs to ask, like, well, Kyle, how do I hit the center of the face? And let me show you. Now, the first thing we have to identify is, where do you hit it in the face? Now, let's pretend, for example, that you hit it on the toe. And that seems to be the common miss. What I want you to do is take a noodle. You could take a stick. You could take a box of balls. You can really take anything. And what I want you to do is put it right there against the heel of the club. Because now if I come through and I hit it off the toe, you can see I'm going to hit it in the I'm going to hit the noodle. However, if I strike the center of the face, I'm going to miss the noodle. That would give me feedback of finding the center of the face if I hit it off the toe. But what about if you hit it off the heel? Now all I'm going to do is I'm going to put the noodle on the outside, and I'm going to have my driver right against right against it, so that now if I were to swing out and I were to hit it off the heel, it would make me hit it on, I would hit the noodle. So that would give me the feedback that I was doing that wrong. Those two setups based upon the heel or the toe would allow you to find the center of the face. But what about the up and down, the vertical? Let's talk a little bit about how we would do that. Now, if you were hitting it and you find that if you look at your driver and unfortunately have a ton of sky marks at the top, right? There is a very good chance that you are too steep. And what I mean by that is that you are coming down too over the top, and as the club comes down over the top, it dives into the ground, and then that allows you to hit the crown, and then you look up and the ball goes way up there, right? And it destroys your driver. So how do you actually go about doing that? So what you would do is you would then just take your shaft and your noodle or a stick and you would put it in. You would see this in other driver series that we did here. And we're going to just set up what we kind of call this tip out noodle, right? So now if I set this up, it's 18 inches above the ground. I go 4 fingers from my shaft, take a big step forward. Now as I came down, if I came down over the top, then what you would see is I would hit the noodle on my way to skying the driver. However, if I come down inside the noodle, that would allow me to kind of hit up on it so that I'm not going to put a dummy mark or a sky mark on the driver. So what about if you're like thinning drivers and you're always hitting at the bottom of the face, or like you're topping it, or like you can't get the ball airborne? It just feels like everything is off the bottom. The reason for that most times is because of the fact that the player is not moving into their lead side enough. So what I want to do is, when you're on the range, to know how much you should move, right? We're going to take the stick, we're going to put it in the ground, right? And what's happening when the player is thinning it is their mass is too far back and they have too much weight on this back foot. So what we want to do is we want our hip to slide about 5 inches down in the downswing. So I'm going to set this noodle up about 5 inches from my lead side. And then as I go up to the top, I need to make sure that I'm getting into my lead side. Right? So that's how much my body should be moving, because now I won't be behind it to thin it. And a great way of kind of making sure that I do that is that if you were out playing, just swinging to get to the point where you could just tap your toe. So based upon what your center of contact is, what your miss is, whether it's the heel, the toe, the high, or the low, these are some ways that you can go about actually fixing it so that you can hit the center of the face. Because as you saw with what we were talking about, if you can't find the center of the face, you can make a perfect golf swing and the ball will go offline. But thankfully, with all of the great manufacturers and technology, like with TaylorMade, when you hit a shot that's a little off center, like the toe can kind of save it, kind of help it draw back. The heel will kind of make it cut. But that's why the technology is so good with these TaylorMade drivers, and just drivers in general, because of the fact of what they can do to help some of the misses that we have as amateur golfers and even professional golfers.